All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, since the Detroit Pistons' last trip to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2008, they have arguably become the NBA's worst franchise. Since that time, Detroit only has one winning season and just three trips to the playoffs without advancing past the first round in either of those trips, while they haven't even won a single playoff game for that matter. Now, make no mistake about it, the Pistons were god awful this past season, which included them losing 28 games in a row at one point. The Pistons finished the season with a mark of 14-68, as it marked the first time in franchise history that they lost at least 60 games in consecutive years. And now the Pistons find themselves in a 0-2 familiar spot as they're once again looking for a head coach. Now, after just 1 year in Detroit, Monty Williams was fired today as the head coach of the Pistons. Now, conventional wisdom would lead you to believe, or would have led you to believe, that Williams was going to be coming back to Detroit for a second year. But when the Pistons decided to go in a different direction in their front office, you could see the writing on the wall for Williams. Now, Troy Weaver was let go at the beginning of this month as the Pistons general manager, and we've seen Trajan Langdon take over this front office. And as Langdon did not hire Monty Williams, the veteran coach clearly became expendable. Now, the Pistons just hired Williams last June. And in doing so, they made him one of the highest paid head coaches in the NBA. And a little bit more than a year later, they're on the hook to pay him now the $65 million that still remains on his deal, while they also have to go out there and find themselves a new head coach. The Pistons, unfortunately, for their sake and the sake of their fan base, they become a joke now, okay? And it starts and ends with their ownership. In the 13 years that Tom Gores has owned the Pistons, they have become absolutely painful to watch. I mean, they've stunk at every aspect of it. You think about it: bad drafting, even worse player development, bad trades. And then Detroit has simply just become a city, basketball wise at least, where dreams go to die. These aren't your father's Pistons. And you think about the Pistons of the 80s, they were, defined by their toughness and their will to win, which led to two championships. You think about the Pistons of the 2000s that were once again a gritty team that embodied the city of Detroit. These Pistons right now, they have no identity whatsoever outside of losing. I mean, you just look at the last 6 seasons for the Pistons. Their loss total has gone up in each year. They lost 41 games in 2019, 46 games in the shortened 2020 season, 52 games in the shortened 2021 season, 59 games in 2022, 65 in 2023, and then, of course, 68 this past season. Now, one would hope that, that trend would not continue if you're the Pistons, and you flirted with losing 70 games this year, and I really thought at one point the Pistons weren't going to win 10 games. That's how bad it is. But nonetheless, if you're a Pistons fan, you just hope that this is rock bottom and you can go up from here. They have the fifth pick in the upcoming NBA draft. Not a really good thing to have due to the fact that this really is not a deep and talented draft. And you look at this Pistons team, the only good thing that you could say about them is that they're young and they're cheap, because payroll wise, Detroit will have some flexibility if they wanted to go out there and sign somebody. But at the end of the day, who wants to play in Detroit right now? It's one of those where, to get somebody there, you're clearly going to have to go out there and overpay them. And you look at this Pistons team, and it's not like they are a player or two away. I know they used the first overall pick a couple of years ago on Cade Cunningham. He's a solid piece, but he's not a franchise player. Okay. And that's the thing. And the Pistons are not a player or two away from getting this thing turned around. First things first, they need some stability, and it starts in their front office. So, who's Langdon going to go out there and get as a head coach? Is Langdon going to go out there and hire a general manager as well? But first and foremost, what they have to do, they've got to find themselves a talent evaluator. Okay. And again, getting back to Tom Gorish, for me, it's this: you go out there and you pay Monty Williams all of that money a year ago, and then you sour on him just like that. And it's not like, Monty came in and took over a team that was on the threshold. No, Monty came in and took over a team that needs help in every facet of the word. This was not a great year for Monty Williams. Okay, I'm not going to sit up here and sugarcoat it. You're talking about the Pistons, offensively one of the worst teams in the NBA, and defensively one of the worst teams in the NBA. That right there is a recipe for disaster, and that gives you an idea as to why this team lost 68 basketball games. But nonetheless, if you're Monty Williams, you could sit back and take it easy. I know, well, not really take it easy. I know he's dealing with an ill wife at the time, but he doesn't have to worry about this stress anymore because the Pistons are going to be somebody else's problem. But it's just unfortunate that this franchise has gotten so bad and they have stayed in that funk, so to speak. It's one of those when dealing with the Pistons right now. It's the same thing for any losing franchise in any sport. It becomes expected, it becomes the norm. And you have a team of young players on the Pistons right now that simply don't know how to win and they don't know what it takes to succeed in the NBA. And somebody at some point is going to come in and change all of that. When that is going to happen, I'm not sure. But the thing is, when you're consistently having upheaval in the front office, when you are consistently having turnover at the head coaching position, when you are consistently missing on first round picks, when you are consistently failing to develop the young players that you have drafted and brought in, guess what? That right there sums up why this team was so bad this past season. That sums up to me why this team has been so bad for so long. The folks of the Motor City, basketball wise, deserve a lot better than this. At least things have gotten turned around for the Red Wings. We saw the Detroit Lions on the cusp of getting to their first Super Bowl this past January, and it has changed the buzz around that franchise. The Tigers are playing some better baseball so far this season, but then there's the Pistons, the lowly Detroit Pistons. Will they ever get this thing figured out? Only time will tell. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.